Chapter 9. "Who is that?" Anila asked, staring at a lone figure on a hill to their left. Reese looked as well. "I have no idea. Do you want me to check?" "No, it's not Andor, and he's not hurting anyone." She stared as her group passed the hill on Bethelback. The man was 50 feet away, standing at the top of the hill, just watching them ride by. Light cast him in silhouette, giving him an incredibly creepy look. Anila looked away as something cold landed on her face. "It's snowing again," Reese said. They had passed the creepy man on the hill, and he was nothing but a tiny image now. Anila tried to forget him and how familiar he had seemed. "Why is the giant's realm the way it is?" a young soldier asked from the rear of the group. Anila looked back. "The only way they could live comfortably is if they live in an icy environment. Rockne cast a spell on that valley to accommodate them." "That was nice of him," Reese said sarcastically. "Rockne was a man of questionable character, I agree. He killed many people to meet his own ends, but he was good to this island." They rode the rest of the way in silence. Anila couldn't wait to return to Rapatha. She had so many questions to ask the spirit. Andor had tried catching up with the boy who looked like his son, but somehow lost him in the alley where he'd first been seen. Andor believed his eyes had been playing tricks, knowing his son to be dead and buried in a mass graveyard developed for the plague victims nearly a year ago. But the boy had looked so much like Joffe. He tried to focus on what he had planned, forgetting about the vision. He wanted Anila dead. He ran up to the coast a mile away and looked to the small island that had acted as Dargo's prison for 100 years. It was the only place Andor had heard Anila mention in the courtyard. She was much too careless to be queen of anything. He saw the burning light of a small fire coming from the island just as it started to snow. He had been locked away when it had started to come down, and it had been 5 years since the last snow day. Andor jumped into the freezing water and swam to the tiny island, anticipating Anila's protection. She would have a few soldiers with her. Andor was prepared for them. Once he reached the shore, he ran to the left, circling the uphill field of shoulder-high grass. He hadn't seen any soldiers, but one could never be too careful. He made his way slowly up the hill, making sure not to disturb the grass too much. He saw someone walking the perimeter up ahead, so he stopped moving and waited for the soldier to walk away. When the soldier disappeared from view, Andor moved quickly. When he got to the small camp, he saw Anila and Reese sitting by the fire next to a large black stone monolith that acted as the entrance to Dargo's prison. The soldier was on the other side of the perimeter, watching the water. Anila held a hooded red robe close to her to keep away the chill. Andor pulled a knife from his pocket and made his move. He attacked Reese first, stabbing him in the head, and then he swung the knife at Anila as she lunged for him. She fell down, holding her slashed throat. He then threw the knife at the guard, who was just now turning at the commotion. The knife went through his heart, and he was dead a moment later. The whole attack had taken 5 seconds. He turned back to Anila, hoping she was still alive. He wanted to watch her die. "No," he said as he saw Anila lying there. The robe had disguised the petite soldier's body. There was no woman here, just 3 men. He'd been set up. Anila was somewhere else. "Daddy?" a small voice said behind him. "You killed these people." Andor spun around and saw a little boy staring at him from the tall grass. There was no mistaking it now. It was his son. "Joffe?" "Why are you killing people?" "Joffe." Andor could barely speak. His dead son was right there. "I'm avenging your death, son. You died for no reason, and it wasn't right. People have to pay."
"But Daddy, I don't want this."
Joffrey watched his dad with tears in his eyes.
"I'm scared of you. Please stop."
Andor's heart broke at his son's words. He shook his head and cried as well. "I can't, son. I love you too much to let them get away with what they did to you."
"What they did to me? Or what they did to you?"
Andor looked at the carnage he'd created. 3 bloody bodies surrounded him. He looked back at Joffrey, but saw nothing except empty grass. "It's too late to stop, son." Andor wanted to scream, but trapped it in his throat. He retrieved the knife from the soldier's chest and ran to the boat. He feared he was going insane, seeing his dead son